At section 5-3, elimination using addition and subtraction. Our main idea is to solve systems of equations and real-world problems algebraically by using elimination with addition and subtraction. And this is coming from Standard 9. So when we are working with elimination, we want to make sure to line up and add and subtract both equations to eliminate one of the variables. So let's take a look at one of our examples. So in example 1, what you want to make sure to do is to look for additive inverses within your two equations. And so we note that negative 5 and positive 5y are opposites of one another. So in this case we want to use addition. So we're going to add these two equations to each other. 3x plus 2x is 5x. Negative 5y plus 5y is 0. And negative 16 plus 31 gives you 15. We solve for x by dividing by 5 on both sides, and we get x is equal to 3. So now once you have the value for one of the variables, we want to substitute that back into one of our equations. So let us substitute this back into equation 1. We'll rewrite it down here so that we have 3x minus 5y is equal to negative 16. Substituting in 3 for x, we have 3 times 3 minus 5y is equal to negative 16. That gives us 9 minus 5y is equal to negative 16. Subtract 9 on both sides. And we have negative 5y equals negative 25. Divide by negative 5 on both sides. And we get y is equal to 5. So once we have the values for x and y, what we want to do is to check our work to make sure that that's correct. So we're going to substitute these values back into both of these original equations. So taking a look at our first equation, which is 3x minus 5y is equal to negative 16, we're going to plug in 3 times 3 minus 5 times 5 is equal to negative 16. That gives us 9 minus 25 is equal to negative 16. And that checks out. So now we're going to go back and plug this back into our second equation, which was 2x plus 5y is equal to 31. We have 2 times 3 plus 5 times 5 is equal to 31. And 6 plus 25 is 31. So that checks out. And then we can write our solution for x and y. It's 3, 5. So now, taking a look at a second example, why don't you try this on your own and bring it to class tomorrow and see how you did. Okay, so let's take a look at another example. In this case, we don't have additive inverses. We have two terms with coefficients that are the same. So in this case, we want to subtract. So we are now subtracting this entire equation from the second one. Now in this case, we want to make sure to distribute that negative sign to each of the terms in the equation. And in order to do that, we change this to an addition problem, and we distribute the negative to each term. Okay? So now we can go ahead and add it just like we did for the previous examples. 5 plus negative 9n gives you negative 4n. That 2m plus negative 2m will give you 0. And we have negative 16. Rewriting that, we divide by negative 4n on both sides, or negative 4, and we get n is equal to 4. So now after we have that variable's value, we can substitute back into either the first or second equation. So substituting back into our first equation, we rewrite it down here. Substituting n is equal to 4, we now solve for m. So we subtract 20 from both sides, and we are left with 2m is equal to negative 14. Divide by 2, and we get m is equal to negative 7. So now we have to make sure to check our work again. So we're going to substitute these back into both of these equations to make sure that it's correct. So we have 5n plus 2m is equal to 6. So we have 5 times 4 plus 2 times negative 7 is equal to 6. And 20 plus negative 14 gives you 6, so that checks out. And now we substitute it back into our second equation. We have 9n plus 2m is equal to 22. Let's divide that there. So now we substitute n is equal to 4 and m is equal to negative 7. And we get 36 plus negative 14 is equal to 22. And that checks out. So now we can write our solution for m and n as negative 7, 4. And here's a fourth example that you can try on your own to check your understanding. And you can bring this to class tomorrow to check on your answer. And in addition to that, here are 2 workbook problems, page 65, number 7, and page 66, number 7. And that's it for today's lesson.